Alright, so this is going to be the final video in my series of how to replace basement windows. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I'm kind of learning as I go. I've never done this before, but maybe some of this information could be helpful to one of you. Who knows? So, step 1, we had to remove the old windows. Step 2, install the new ones. And step 3, we need to finish the exterior of the windows. By providing a nice permanent barrier I'll be using repair mortar, which is a product that sticks very well to existing concrete. But in order to do that, we have to prep the channel that the mortar is going into by removing any excess foam insulation that may have seeped out. Some of these came out better than others, but you know, that's how it goes. But we want this, especially this bottom channel here, we want to make sure there's plenty of room for our mortar to adhere to. And all this foam is going to get in the way. So we need to get rid of some of that. It's one of those situations where, you know, too much is almost as bad as not enough. But the nice thing about this expanding foam is it does a great job of expanding. That's kind of its namesake. So we should have plenty of that down inside there. There should be no gaps or anything once this is all removed. I'm going to clear all that out. I think that should be enough, right? Now these spacers, these shims, those are going to need to be cut back a little bit too. Try to cut a V into it. Actually, I think there's a tool for this. I'm not sure about that. There might actually be a specialized tool for cutting back foam insulation. They're called fingers, and they work really well. And everybody's got them. Well, most people have at least 10 of them. Just kidding. Let's see. That should be plenty right there. The thing is, I mean, the original windows, the window sill was installed at it was made at a slant, and these replacement windows don't match up with that slant. So, yeah, that gives you a nice heavy-duty gap at the bottom. But the nice thing about it is it sheds water very nicely. So I'm gonna cut all this out. Ooh, that's a little too much. Alright, I'll have to fix that. Actually did create a gap right there, so I'm gonna have to fix that. I think what I'll do is once I get the mortar in there, I'm gonna go back and do it from the inside with foam and fill in that gap. So that'll be fine. Get this stuff off the vinyl. Push that back. There we go. And that'll give us a nice channel to pack in the the mortar mix. That's what I'm thinking. But I gotta chisel away those thingamabobs. So I had a brief moment of clarity. So the plan wasn't to use mortar mix on the sides of the window. That makes no sense. That's why I bought caulking. Dumbass. No, the mortar mix is for the bottom of the window, not for the sides. I should have clarified that to myself and to you. Let me show you what I'm using. This is called Quad OSI all-season formula. Windows, doors, siding. It is... Don't worry, that'll all clean off easily. The nice thing about cement or mortar is it doesn't really bond to vinyl. So I'm going to clean all that stuff off with a sponge, get the screen off. I'll wash out the screen. But you get the idea. So we filled in the whole bottom with concrete. I was going to film myself doing this, but honestly, time is of the essence. Once you start mixing mortar mix, it's minutes, not hours, you know. So you don't have a lot of free time to just stick around with a camera. But you can see that, you know, of course this one came out a lot better. And yeah, this stuff will just wash right off. Not worried about it. I got to make sure that I clean them drain holes. Now I was going to leave these windows with the screens off, and then it hit me. If I do that, these drain holes will plug up with debris much faster, and that'll create a problem, like a big problem. So we don't want that. But, this is pretty much done. Exterior is done. Interior trim is only going to happen in the computer room, and the rest of them are just going to get painted and maybe caulked a little more. Here's another one. Look at that. So yeah, and when this stuff cures, it'll actually pretty much match the color of the wall. So it's not going to stand out all that much. Now I want to bring up one important point. When buying caulking, look at the date of production. It's usually stamped somewhere on the canister. I bought these 2 days ago. Notice something. 2019 is the production year. Doesn't say what the month. 0S1, I don't know what month that is. But here's the thing. Caulking has a shelf life of about, in this case it's stamped on the can as 2 years, 24 months. So the thing about certain types of caulking, especially silicone based, is that if it's even a little bit expired, or coming up to that date, there's a very good chance it won't ever cure. That has happened to me before. One of the things that I've learned as a homeowner who does his own repairs, don't buy caulking that's on sale. Don't buy caulking that you don't need right now. Buy it when you need it, because this stuff will go bad. I bought this 2 days ago, and it is at the end of its lifespan. So Lowe's apparently isn't rotating their stock, or they are, and people haven't been buying this stuff very much. So just want a word of caution there. I actually had a brand new can or container of silicone caulking that was probably a month or so out of its expiration date. I think it was GE Alex Plus, I think it was. And it did not cure. I had to recaulk the entire tub. Take the stuff out and recaulk the whole thing, because the shit just didn't cure. And I look at the date on the tube, and it's 3 years old. So I want you to be aware. I think I bought it when I bought the house. Now at the time, it was already on the shelf maybe a year. So check your expiration dates. It is important. And in a case like this, I mean, I don't want to have to... it is curing. I tested it. It's actually skinning over nicely, so I'm not worried about it. But you're always... one of these days, you're going to find yourself in a situation where, crap, the sealant's not sealing, and now you got to redo the whole thing. It's a messy job. Nobody wants to do it. So all I'm going to say right now is I'm done for a while. Once I'm not going to bother trimming out this window until I have the other window installed, and I can do them both at the same time with the same materials, the same paints, same process. So this is looking good, really good, and I do see a gap right there. I'm going to seal that up. I'm just looking now. Yeah, that's way up on top. So I'm gonna put a bead of caulking probably down in the side here, and because I'm gonna use up what I got, and we're gonna seal these windows up from the inside as well as the outside. Yeah, I fully expect these to last about 20 to 25 years. Like I said before, I'm gonna buy an extra one of these 18 by 32s because there's always a chance that I'll break one of the window panes with a lawnmower. And it'll be cheaper for me to just buy a spare window while they're still in production and just swap out the entire glass panel than it is to have a glass shop make a replacement. And of course, I don't want to go through the hassle of removing the window from the, from the wall just because of a broken piece of glass. That actually happened to my dad, but it wasn't one of these. It was actually just a regular house window, and he bought, whatever Lowe's had on hand, which was, one of their house brand windows. And probably about, maybe within the first year, the lawnmower picked up a stone and cracked the window. And he went back to Lowe's, and they didn't have that window anymore. They had changed suppliers, and they didn't make that window anymore. So he went to a glass shop to get, to get glass made. And it turned out to be a lot cheaper for him to rip the whole window out of the wall than it was to have the glass shop make a new IGU. This is called an insulated glass unit, IGU. That being not the frame, but of course the glass itself. Let's take a look at that for a sec here. An IGU is everything here that's not vinyl. So this whole glass panel, there's two pieces of glass sandwiched. So let's talk for a second about IGUs, insulated glass units. These are basically, see that metal strip there? Well, that's the seam between the two pieces of glass. That's like a metal framework, and the glass is bonded to this thing. And I believe they evacuate the air from the IGU and they fill it with argon, and it's designed to prevent thermal transfer between glass panes, which is why they're called thermal pane windows. IGUs are very expensive to have them made. These are only cheap because, they've got, all the equipment and facilities manufacturing, just a couple standard sizes, and that's all they do. But if I were to have this made to replace the glass outside of the frame itself, it would cost me a small fortune. I'd have to call a glass shop. They have to make it. I think they make them on site. I'm not sure, or in their factories, and then they ship them over, something like that. But anyway, these IGUs are designed to last about 25 years, sometimes less. These are probably like a 15-year lifespan, maybe. But I want to show you guys something, since we're on the subject of windows and IGUs. So talking about insulated glass units, I want to talk about this one. Now, this is an IGU that was manufactured in 1954. It has never been replaced. There's no sign of it ever being replaced. And you can usually tell if it's a modern replacement because it'll have etchings on the glass. This window has no etching of any kind. And it's pretty much in perfect condition. This piece of glass, or this glass IGU, kind of redundant, insulated glass unit. It is about 67 years old and still holds a tight seal. Now, you can tell if your IGUs are bad if usually during a seasonal change or temperature change, a rapid one, you're going to get moisture or hazing inside the glass. This window does not have that. To this day, it still maintains a nice tight seal. But one thing I've noticed about this one is the seal on the top and the side here has actually sucked in a little bit. I almost feel that this window might be under vacuum. But you can see that it's definitely, it started to come. It should be like this. Look at what happened. Now, it could have been made that way. I don't really know. But what I do know is, once again, it's still airtight, and there are no leaks. But I just wanted to show you guys what a really old one looks like. Now, IGUs I think they were invented in the 1930s, but they really didn't become commonplace in residential buildings for quite some time after that. Again, this house was built in '54, And this is actually a nice warm window, believe it or not. They made the picture window in IGU, but the side lights are single pane. So whatever, it works. I'm not replacing it. It's not rotted. It's in actually pretty good condition. So this window is not getting replaced anytime soon. But I do dread the cost that this will take to replace. This thing is going to cost some real money to replace because it is an 11-foot window. So when we go to replace it eventually, it'll probably be 3 separate windows bonded together. I don't know. I'm going to hire it out though. I'm not going to do this one myself. But like I said, all the windows in this house are in really good condition overall, and except for those damn basement windows. But that problem has been solved, thank God. Anyway, but yeah, a little fun story. Back to IGUs, and I don't know how I got onto that tangent, but I've got one more story to tell you. So my employer has a separate maintenance department. They take care of building maintenance, small construction projects and such. Not custodial work, not cleaning things, but they're the ones who repair electrical, plumbing, you name it, they fix it. And they hired a young kid because they were really hard. They were having a hard time finding seasoned professionals at the rate they were paying them. So they got in this young kid. He was probably 23. About the same age. I was 22 when I started working there, and now 37, and I'm still there. But this kid was like 22, 21, 22, 23, somewhere in that range, and he survived 2 years. That was it. I think they gave him every chance to do well, but he just couldn't handle the job. Mainly because he was he was a know-it-all. And he says he had all this experience in construction and all that, but it was all bunk. Anyway, so he's going around. So we built a brand new high school in 2007. I was working there at the time. I was in that building before it was finished. And, it was a brand new building. They used regular commercial grade windows and doors and everything. And the building is, it's over 10 years old now, and it's starting to show its age, but, it's still a fairly new building in the grand scheme of things. So I was working in one of the labs, and the kid shows up to, what they do is they've been giving him, busy work. Like, hey, I want you to make sure every window in this building opens. Can you do that? And then he's like, yes, sir. All gung-ho. And he comes into the building, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, well, I need to make sure all the windows work. I said, oh, wow, that's great. Awesome. Great use of your talent, too. So he goes, and he's in the room I'm in, and he's starting to open these windows. There's a row of 3 windows. They're slider windows, by the way. They're not sash, or they're rolling windows, basically. And aluminum frame, thermopane windows. So he's writing on his clipboard. He goes to the first one. Won't open. Okay, I'm going to write down, it needs to be replaced on his little clipboard. He goes to the next one. It won't open. Needs to be replaced. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing, buddy? So I go over to him. I said, look, these windows have never been opened. I'm just going to tell you straight up. I've worked in this room a lot over the years, and I can tell you, no one has ever opened these windows. Building is 14 years old now, so they're going to be a little difficult. So I said, here, let me show you how it's done. So I grab the window frame, I unlock it, and I just give it a good tug, and it opens. Oh, look at that. It works. And he's like, how'd you do that? I'm like, well, you got to put a little muscle into it. How many windows does he think needs to, and he's telling me, oh yeah, I've worked in construction, so I know that all of these windows they need to be replaced because they're not meant to last this long. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, these insulated glass units, they're only good for 10 or 15 years. I'm like, what are you talking, dude, come on. Seriously, you're an idiot. He was convinced that this 14-year-old building needed all new windows because they're too old. I'm like, look, I've got one in my house that's older than your grandfather. It doesn't leak.
Okay, so it doesn't, just because some of them might leak after 12 or 15 years does not mean that they all need to be replaced. How freaking stupid can you be? But anyway, I just I just had to get that out. Now the kid no longer works with us. He's been let go, as far as I know, because he actually about a year later, he was working in another building, and he's telling everybody in the building that all the windows need to be. He had this thing about windows, like he thinks windows are only supposed to last 10 years or something like that. I'm like, okay, maybe the cheap bottom of the barrel Home Depot windows, maybe, but typically your commercial windows are going to last a lot longer than you think. I mean, honestly, we have windows in some of our buildings that are about as old as this house that still hold a nice tight seal. And we've got some that are only a couple of years old that leak. Hey, you know, it happens. Anyway, on that note, I think I'm going to start doing the trim work on my computer room window. I decided I got some time. I'm going to just get it done. So I took the old Miata out and I picked up some lumber. The nice thing about a convertible is it's like a pickup truck in that it has an unlimited load height. So I was able to get those 1 by 12 by I think those are 8-footers. 1 by 12 by 8s fit nicely in the Miata. So I got to go do that. Anyway, all right. So we're just finishing up these windows now. Got the window openings painted. I got one coat of dry lock. I'm going to need one more coat, and then those will be finished. I just got the windows wide open so that the air can flow through, allow the paint to dry. And that's how you do it. It's a lot of work. It really is. I mean, there's a lot of different things involved. You know, in my case, I had to mix up some concrete mix or mortar mix. Use 2 different types of sealant. You got your foam sealant for thermal. You've got your caulking, your silicone caulking for water intrusion. And at the end of the day, that looks pretty good. Yeah, this is starting to turn white. By the way, this is the next day, so this is still nice and solid. This is still curing. That'll take a while. It'll be curing for a couple of days, not a week or more. That's okay. And there you go. Basement windows are done. Except for that one weirdo window that I have to install when it arrives. Now I decided to leave the screens in place because it'll prevent or reduce the amount of particles that are allowed to go in, you know, just from normal daily routine stuff. So I decided I'm going to keep the screens in place because it'll reduce the amount of debris that ends up inside there, which could block the water drain channels. We don't want that to happen. Now, the way these windows are made, it looks like if it were to flood inside the channel, it would flow over this side before it flows over to the inside. So, yeah, that's the thing. Okay, let's take a look at the other one. Here's my window box from the outside. I think I can sweep the gravel back where it belongs. It's pretty well cured. We'll just take our hard rake and shove it back. There. That's it. Good to go. I gotta make sure that gets cleared out. I'm gonna take a little metal pick and pick out those drain holes. Oh, gotta keep a close eye on that too. A little bit of concrete. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. And here's the finished window box on the inside. I think I'm ready to start putting my computer stuff back together. And then when it comes time to doing this window, I'm going to just put a plastic cloth or a plastic cloth. I'm going to put some plastic over this and kind of get the stuff out from under here, and that'll be fine. That won't be as difficult to remove as the other windows were, because I might not even have to use a saw. I'm just going to be able to push it all. It's all like just wet, rotted wood, and just rip it all out. But this is the inside of the window box. I love this. The cats love this. Everybody's happy. Yeah, I love it. This could have come out better. But let's be honest, I'm not a finished carpenter, and everything was. Some of the angles had to be cut weirdly, and it was a little challenging because this is a rough opening. And I'm just kind of trying to get this stuff done quickly rather than serves a purpose. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be pretty. It works. Everything should be fine and dandy. Open this up, get some air in here. That's why I'm doing this. So I had a YouTuber talk about, why bother having openable windows in a basement. Well, the truth is, if you're working down here, sometimes you want that fresh air to come in. You want fresh air. You want to be able to ventilate the space for one reason or another. Obviously, this isn't, this is not a bedroom, but you want that there so you can ventilate the space. You can totally put glass blocks in those openings, and that's okay. Some people do that. But personally, I prefer to have openable windows. Now, again, the only exception will be this window here, which is just too small to warrant having a window that slides open. It just isn't necessary. There is legitimately no reason to have a window there that opens up. If anything, I'd rather have one that was fixed. So that's why I ordered a fixed window. That's a double glazed window that does not open. So that's what's going in there. But yeah, that would have been a prime location for glass blocks. Totally agree, 100%. But I just wanted to. I just want a real window there. I don't want glass blocks. But believe me, I did think about it. I really did. But that's not what's going to happen. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to put this video together, and that'll be the final video in our series of replacing basement windows. And I got to do one more coat of paint on those window openings, and I can call this project a done deal. So there you go. Until next time, have a great day.